The two great indigenous philosophical and religious traditions of China, Daoism and Confucianism, originated about the same time, 6th-5th century BCE, in what are now the neighboring eastern Chinese provinces of Henan and Shandong, respectively. Both traditions have permeated Chinese culture for some 2,500 years. Both are associated with an individual founder, though in the case of Daoism the figure, Laozi, flourished 6th century BCE, is extremely obscure, and some aspects of his traditional biography are almost certainly legendary. A conventional but unlikely story has it that Laozi and Confucius, 551 to 479 BCE, the founder of Confucianism, once met and that the former older philosopher was not impressed. Be that as it may, their respective traditions share many of the same ideas about humanity, society, the ruler, heaven, and the universe, and, over the course of millennia, they have influenced and borrowed from each other. Even since the end of the dynastic period 1911 and the establishment of the Communist People's Republic 1949, which was often violently hostile to religion, the influence of both Daoism and Confucianism in Chinese culture remains strong. Daoism and Confucianism arose as philosophical worldviews and ways of life. Unlike Confucianism, however, Daoism eventually developed into a self-conscious religion, with an organized doctrine, cultic practices, and institutional leadership. In part, because the doctrines of religious Daoism inevitably differed from the philosophy from which they arose, it became customary among later scholars to distinguish between the philosophical and the religious versions of Daoism, some taking the latter to represent a superstitious misinterpretation or adulteration of the original philosophy. That critical view, however, is now generally rejected as simplistic, and most contemporary scholars regard the philosophical and religious interpretations of Daoism as informing and mutually influencing each other. The basic ideas and doctrines of philosophical Daoism are set forth in the Tao Te Ching, Classic of the Way to Power, a work traditionally attributed to Laozi but probably composed after his lifetime by many hands, and in the Zhuangzi, Master Zhuang, by the 4th–3rd century BCE Taoist philosopher of the same name. The philosophical concept from which the tradition takes its name, Tao, is broad and multifaceted, as indicated by the many interrelated meanings of the term, including path, road, way, speech, and method. Accordingly, the concept has various interpretations and plays various roles within Taoist philosophy. In its most profound interpretation, the cosmic Tao, or the way of the cosmos, it is the immanent and transcendent source of the universe Tao Te Ching, spontaneously and incessantly generating that 10,000 things, a metaphor for the world, and giving rise, in its constant fluctuation, to the complementary forces of yin-yang, which make up all aspects and phenomena of life. The cosmic Tao is imperceptible and indiscernible, in the sense of being indeterminate or not any particular thing. It is the void that latently contains all forms, entities, and forces of particular phenomena. Another important interpretation of Tao is that of the particular way of a thing or group of things, including individuals, e.g., sages and rulers, and humanity as a whole. Taoist philosophy characteristically contrasts the cosmic Tao in its naturalness, spontaneity, and eternal rhythmic fluctuation with the artificiality, constraint, and stasis of human society and culture. Humanity will flourish only to the extent that the human way Rendao is attuned to or harmonized with the cosmic Tao, in part through the wise rule of sage kings who practice Wu Wei, or the virtue of taking no action that is not in accord with nature. Generally speaking, whereas Taoism embraces nature and what is natural and spontaneous in human experience, even to the point of dismissing much of China's advanced culture, learning, and morality, Confucianism regards human social institutions, including the family, the school, the community, and the state, as essential to human flourishing and moral excellence, because they are the only realm in which those achievements, as Confucius conceived them, are possible. A lover of antiquity, Confucius broadly attempted to revive the learning, cultural values, and ritual practices of the early Zhou kingdom, beginning in the 11th century BCE, as a means of morally renewing the violent and chaotic society of his day, that of the spring and autumn period, and of promoting individual self-cultivation, the task of acquiring virtue, ren, or humaneness, and of becoming a moral exemplar, junzi, or gentleman. According to Confucius, all people, no matter their station, are capable of possessing ren, which is manifested when one's social interactions demonstrate humaneness and benevolence toward others. Self-cultivated junzi possess ethical maturity and self-knowledge, attained through years of study, reflection, and practice. They are thus contrasted with petty people, shaoren, literally, small person, who are morally like children. Confucius's thought was interpreted in various ways during the next 1,500 years by later philosophers who were recognized as founders of their own schools of Confucian and Neo-Confucian philosophy. About 1190, the Neo-Confucian philosopher Zhu Xi published a compilation of remarks attributed to Confucius, which had been transmitted both orally and in writing. Known as Lunu, or the Analects of Confucius, it has since been regarded as the most reliable historical account of Confucius's life and doctrines.